Welcome back, Focus Learners. Today, we're diving right into the art and science of play. We usually think of play as something just for kids, right? Like an activity we just kind of age out of once real life hits. But today, we're looking at the hard, scientific evidence proving that play is an absolute necessity for our survival, our well-being, and literally our environment.
Think about this for a second. When was the last time you just played? And I don't mean working out to burn calories or competing to win some trophy. I mean engaging in an activity purely for the absolute joy of it. We've really got to challenge ourselves with this question because we so often mistakenly categorize play as juvenile or, unproductive. But the research argues the exact opposite. Far from being a waste of time, engaging in play is a serious, fundamental biological necessity that shapes our development, our communities, and our minds.
Okay, let's dive into this. In Dr. Susan Edwards' core essay, she frames the overarching study of play by highlighting the work of physician Stuart Brown, who founded the National Institute for Play. And Dr. Brown makes this absolutely fascinating claim. He argues that play is actually pre-conscious and pre-verbal, meaning it's not something we just invented to pass the time. It arises out of ancient biological structures in our brains that existed way before our consciousness or even our ability to speak. Play is literally hardwired right into our evolutionary biology.
And what's really interesting is how Dr. Brown breaks down this kind of abstract concept. Because play is so ancient and instinctual, he avoids a super rigid definition and instead gives us these 7 distinct properties. Let's fire through them real quick. True play is done for its own sake, no immediate survival value or ulterior motive. It's completely voluntary. It's fun. When we're fully in it, it provides a freedom from time. You know that feeling when hours just totally slip by? It diminishes self-consciousness, letting us drop our guards. It carries the potential for improvisation. And finally, there's a distinct desire to keep playing. Now, checking these boxes might not seem like it helps us survive a crisis, but biologically, it absolutely does. Sharing the experience of play releases massive amounts of endorphins, which actively counteract the stress hormone cortisol in our bodies.
So this biological impulse then builds into a psychological journey. Intellectual historian Scott Eberly maps this out as a 6-step process. And notice how the flow of these steps mirrors the actual feeling of playing. It starts quick with anticipation, a little curiosity or anxiety about what's coming, then bam, a pause for surprise, a sudden discovery, maybe a new perspective. This smoothly rolls right into pleasure, the pure fun of the act. From there, the pace evens out into understanding, where we synthesize new knowledge. Then comes strength, the self-confidence born from mastering the play. And finally, it all smooths out into poise, a deep, settling sense of balance, grace, and contentment. It's a beautifully structured process that shows us exactly how play builds our mental resilience and self-confidence.
4,000. I really want you to let that number sink in for a second. Author Oliver Burkeman points out a deeply humbling fact on our source text. He argues that if we're lucky enough to live to be 80 years old, we have just 4,000 weeks on this earth. That is our entire window to work, to create meaning, and importantly, to play. The text even references the classic movie character Ferris Bueller and his famous life philosophy. Given the finitude of our existence, the simple fact that we have limited time and limited control, Bueller's advice to occasionally just stop and play isn't just a punchline. It is an incredibly urgent biological and philosophical directive to make our 4,000 weeks actually matter.
And this brilliantly illustrates the next major turn in our explainer today. We spent the first half looking inward, right? At the internal, biological, and psychological feelings of play. But in what ways do the design and structure of abstract and physical environments actually impact play? We can have all the biological drive in the world, but if our environment restricts us, play just cannot happen. This elegantly transitions our focus from the internal essence of play to the external structures that house it.
Which brings us directly to Theme 4, Architecture and Design of Play.
So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the stark contrast between natural habitats and constructed habitats. Scholars Stephen J. Fritz, Dr. Kelly Kennedy Everett, and Dr. Terry Smith Ruckel pose a really vital question for our modern world. How do the physical and abstract spaces we build dictate our ability to play? Look, every building, every park, every digital space is architecturally designed. The source material points out that natural habitats organically support a wide, diverse variety of play for all kinds of creatures. Nature is inherently interactive, but our constructed habitats, our cities, our buildings, our architectural marvels, they're very different. They often consider only the play of humans, completely disregarding the play of animals.
When we construct our world, we're making active, structural choices about who gets to play, where they get to play, and how they get to play. And those design choices either invite us to step out of our stressful lives and engage in play, or they shut that biological impulse down completely.
Let's look at two totally different spaces we've built to facilitate play. On one hand, you have a physical, constructed habitat. Think of a brightly colored agility hurdle designed specifically for a dog to jump over. It's a physical architecture built to challenge and delight an animal. It requires physical space, gravity, bodily movement, the whole shebang. On the other hand, we have a completely abstract, interactive architecture, like the vibrant digital world of a Mario video game. This environment uses digital code to create a playground of the mind, challenging our spatial awareness and creativity in an abstract realm. But both spaces, whether physical or digital, require highly intentional, playful design to actually foster engagement.
Building on that digital space, researchers Abu-Rub, Attridge, and Williams highlight virtual reality and engineering education as the absolute future of creative learning. By designing abstract, computer-generated play spaces, students can experiment, fail safely, and innovate without the constraints of physical materials or, the real-world dangers of a structural collapse. This proves that designing abstract play spaces isn't just about entertainment. It leads to massive, tangible educational innovations. When we engineer environments for play, we're actually engineering environments for higher-level learning and complex problem-solving.
Now, let's bring this concept of spatial design right into your daily routine. The text prompts us to research this highly specific question: how does the design and structure of fitness centers influence the experience of exercise as play? Think about your own local gym for a second. Does the layout, the lighting, the spacing of the equipment actually invite a playful spirit? Does it feel like an adult playground where you can joyfully test your strength? Or is it designed in a rigid, industrial way that makes exercise feel like a stressful, obligatory chore? The architecture itself fundamentally changes your psychological experience of the activity.
I want to conclude our explainer today with this final, provocative thought. Look around you right now. Seriously, look at your desk, your room, your office, your home. Is your space designed for play? Because as we've explored today, play isn't just some fleeting childhood memory. It's an ancient biological drive that reduces our stress, builds our minds, and requires the right physical and abstract architecture to thrive. We only have 4,000 weeks, so I leave you with this. How can you redesign the architecture of your own life today to ensure that you play it forward?